And welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. If this is the first one you've ever watched of mine, hi, I'm Steph and I'm a nail tech in New Zealand, and I'm also the Light Elegance distributor here in New Zealand. Again, this is my twin sister's nails, and you would have seen this last design that we did on my channel, and now we're taking it off. So I'm starting with my speedy bit and obviously my beautiful Shamark's dust collector, and I'm removing the colour and the excess bulk. Every client is a little bit different in terms of the way that their nails grow, and my sister in particular, she was quite a bad nail biter for many years, and so her nails are prone to kind of growing down and around her fingertips rather than more straight out, which you can kind of see when I turn her hand to the side on this one. But yeah, so we kind of have to take a little bit more off, do a little bit more rebalancing so that we can get that beautiful sleek apex kind of shape again that we want. And so I do a little bit of a combination of bringing the bit kind of vertically down the nail, and then also widthwise really helps to smooth out the surface of the nail. And then at the end I will remove the length with the bit, and then I actually check down the barrel to make sure that the length that I've removed hasn't then left a really thick free edge for me to have to reshape, because I used to not do this check and then reshaping would take me forever, and I would have to then tailor the thickness of the free edge with the file when I was reshaping. Whereas if you take it really nice and thin, it's not only going to help the reshaping be really nice and sleek, but it actually also helps keep that free edge of the nail nice and thin and not bulk up over time as we do the fills. So that's just a little hot tip from me. I have had this video edited for a little while, but I haven't had the time, or I haven't been in the mood to do the voiceover. I do like to do just like a running commentary for the voiceover, kind of one take, throw something at the wall and see what sticks. But I've been really busy lately, so for those of you, if you're watching from New Zealand or Australia or the UK, or maybe you're somewhere else but you follow nail techs that are in these areas, you will have seen that there's a lot of talk at the moment about pricing. I'm going to put a pin in that because you can see I'm removing some pocket lifting from her thumb. This central lifting can kind of happen for a few reasons. One of them is that they're putting trainers on and using their thumb down the back of their heel to either put them on or take them off, which is very annoying, but that amount of pressure across the center of the nail does flex the product away, and after a few times it will detach and cause separation through the center. You might also see this if you're using a less flexible product on flexible nails, and in particular the thumbnail, because of its width, it's a little bit more flat through the center. So I found this as well, if that's the case and you're applying the product just a little bit too thick, so you kind of really want to make sure you're still applying the product thin even with those wider, flatter nails. Don't be tempted to build too much of an apex, especially if the product you're using is a little bit less flexible. So yeah, back to regular chats. I've been really busy at the moment because I have really gone headfirst into supporting the nail techs of New Zealand in helping them understand their business financials and actually pricing their services correctly. This isn't a problem unique to New Zealand. It's actually very prevalent in Australia and the UK as well. And I think what it boils down to, or kind of where it comes from, is once we've trained as nail techs, we don't have an option to go and work for someone else. There are barely any salons for independent nail techs or nail techs that have trained through a higher level of education. So we have to work for ourselves. But usually our education providers, while they might provide business education, it's not essential, it's an add-on. And so we don't know when we're training that how crucial this information is. We leave and start our own businesses and look to our other local nail techs and look to those people that we look up to understand what we should be pricing ourselves as. And no one's priced themselves based off of facts. Everyone's just done the same thing as they've become nail techs and needed to kind of do $5 or $10 price increases over time. But we just really have not kept up with inflation, and with the kind of more recent technology advances in the industry with builder gel or the builder in a bottle, or whatever you want to call it, these services do take a lot longer time. They require a lot more skill. Instagram as well has forced us all to really up our game in terms of the finished product, which I love, but it's way more work. We're working so hard trying to do a set of nails. So, whereas a normal gel polish manicure a couple of years ago would have been $40, $50, the builder gel manicure is double the work, and people are only charging $10, $20 extra on average. So at the start of the year, actually, I sat down and decided that it was time for me to analyze my own business, because I had done exactly what I just described, where I went through and did my training and then set up my pricing based off other local nail techs, and then took some money off because I was new and not well established, and then just kind of ignored it. We all know that the situation's not good, but we're too scared to kind of know the truth. When I became a distributor, I also signed up for a commercial space, which is quite uncommon in New Zealand. Most nail techs work from home, and so having a commercial lease means I'm pretty financially responsible. If I miss a payment, it becomes much more money that I'm in debt for than just the payment that I missed. And so I decided it was time to figure out where all this hard-earned money was actually going, because the number that comes into the account at the end of every week kind of looks good. Like, it doesn't look bad. But if we don't understand all of our operating expenses, especially taking into account the ones that we pay once or twice a year, it's very easy to think that we're making a lot more money than we are. And then when these big bills come through, we end up having to pay out of our personal savings because we don't have any business savings or money set aside for kind of preempting these extra costs. So my past life, I used to work in a corporate role, and I have a lot of Excel skills. And I also really like numbers. That's the way my brain works. So I sat down and analysed all the way down to what is my actual true profit for each service. And I set up a bit of a fun kind of Excel spreadsheet to help me on the way. And what I found was horrifying. I'm probably making about, or have been making about half minimum wage at the moment. And then I thought, well, if that's the case for me, it's probably the case for a lot of other people, or maybe I'm the worse off, but I'm also priced as one of the highest currently, or I was priced as one of the highest at that point. And I was like, well, if people are charging less but they have less overheads, they're probably still not in a great spot. So this isn't actually just a me problem. There could be more nail techs that would benefit from something like this. And because I built it all in Excel, it was the basis of a template that others could just put their put their big numbers in, and all of the information for their particular business and the way they like to run things, and spit out, how much profit they're making, but then also kind of reverse engineer that to say, okay, well, if I charge this much for this service, takes me this long, costs me this much for product, cost me this much for operating expenses, how much do I actually need to charge to make minimum wage or living wage? which it's just so bonkers how that's a goal, is to make enough money to survive in the current climate. Like, living wage is not built for going on lavish holidays or spending a lot of money on clothes or going out for dinner all the time. It's literally what someone would need to make so that they can pay to go to the doctors and pay to fix their car and all of these things that at the moment, as a nail tech, I would say that feels like a luxury. Like, I avoid going to the dentist, and I know my car needs working on, but I can't even afford it, so it's just not something that I even concern myself with. And yeah, the idea that maybe my car breaks down and I can't fix it, that's pretty scary. But up until this point, I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't think there was anything to do about it. So yeah, naturally, once I kind of discovered that I was making no money, instead of reviewing my pricing, I procrastinated even more, and I turned this tool into a workshop, which I've now run 2 of, and I've got another one booked in 2 weeks. I'm running these workshops in person because there's so much information, so many numbers to go through. There's a lot of detail to what we do as nail techs, and we also kind of need to build this like support network and community of like-minded nail techs that want more for themselves and for their businesses. So a lot of people have already asked me about providing an online version of the workshop, but I just, unless it's literally the only option, I would much rather plan a session in your area, come and run it in your area and do it in person, because the value that you get out of the in-person is going to far outstrip something online. You can go to an online workshop and you can watch it and kind of engage with it, but there's nothing forcing you on actually getting something out of it and actually actioning anything afterwards. Whereas being in person, you get that hands-on support from me, maybe from some of the other people that are there, but you also have that accountability of after, okay, this is information and you can choose to do what you would like to with it for your business, but you have a support network of other business owners that are doing exactly the same thing. So kind of having that camaraderie in an industry where we are very siloed because we all run our own businesses and work by ourselves in our own studios. It's just, the more I run these workshops, the more online doesn't seem like an actual true solution to the problem in the industry right now. In 2 to 5 years' time, when the industry is pricing where it needs to be, I think it'll be much easier to actually run, a bit more fun online workshops that we're not looking at our businesses and saying, okay, we're paying ourselves $10 or $11 an hour right now. Like, that's a whole different experience. So I'm not saying no forever, but definitely for now, while we're really making a big change and doing something very new, I think it's important it's in person. Oh, that was a lot. So you can see I've obviously smashed through the prep, and we're going now into product application. My favorite, always air bond first and then tack, then we're curing in the lamp. We kept, I think, most of the length this time. She's wanting to grow them back out again after we shortened them, but kind of keeping a really nice elegant shape was really important for my sister, because of having years of being a nail biter and maybe not having so much confidence in her hand. So that's definitely, we need to keep the length to kind of keep that nice tapered look, but we also need the length for this particular shape because she has quite deep C curves. If it's shorter and we're trying to make this tapered round shape, we're going to start to file out the sidewalls. So you'll see a lot in social media of natural nails being shaped to pointy almonds or really tapered almonds, but you only see them from the top. You never really see them from the side, and that's usually because on the side they're missing the sidewalls because of the natural shape of the nail, whereas when we have extensions we can taper the C-curve with that form and remove that risk of filing out the sidewall. So definitely something to keep in mind if you're working on longer natural nails. You do need to respect the natural C-curve, and not every shape can be on every single nail, even regardless of length. Most aren't going to get a super tailored or rather tapered shape. So because I've been working on this workshop, it's definitely taken up a lot of my extra time, and as of right now I've almost finished an online tool that people can use. It's going to be very, very accessible because right now nail techs in the industry don't have a lot of cash to spare, so making this super fancy, super expensive tool is not fit for purpose really right now. But what it is doing is shining a light on at least what you earned in the last year. So taking your whole sales revenue, taking your whole product costs, taking your whole operating expenses for a full 52-week period, so we can make sure to include all of the annual costs that your business incurred, and then using either your current schedule to approximate how many hours you worked, or using your booking software to get the actual hours with clients, plus admin time, plus paid annual leave and paid sick leave. We then can calculate what you likely paid yourself per hour, and it goes down in steps. So you go, okay, well, you work this much in the year, we're adding very bare minimum of admin hours between clients, etc. That gives us our maximum amount we likely paid ourselves per hour. We have a middle tier that tells us at minimum it was probably this, given taking time off in the year for leave, and then if we assume that leave was paid, it's even less. It's a little bit scary, but I just really wanted to make a super accessible tool. This is not specific to New Zealand. My idea is that it can be used anywhere, and it's actually not specific to nail techs. It's not even specific to service providers, because it's at such a top level. Any self-employed person that tracks their working hours in some way and has accounting software, or at least has a bookkeeper or an accountant that's done their finances to know these total figures, you can use this tool. So at least it kind of gives you a true reality, because unfortunately what tends to happen is nail techs will look at their booking system and say, okay, well, I was booked for 25 hours this week, that's hours of bums and chair, and I made this much money, so I just divide the two and that's how much I made per hour. But the reality is, even if we're fully booked, usually we've got 5 or 10 minutes between clients that we're cleaning, we have our lunch break, we have our setup time at the start of the day and at the end of the day. We spend time on social media responding to queries. We hopefully do some other business admin, accounting, things like that. We purchase products. We learn new techniques. There's so many extra things that go into running our business effectively outside of clients' bums and seats. And we should be paying ourselves for that, so long as we're working efficiently. Like, sure, if you just get one Instagram post up in a whole hour, maybe you don't pay yourself for that whole hour, but you should at least pay yourself for the 15 minutes of that hour that you did that work. So obviously you can tell I feel really passionately about this subject, and I really want to help. I feel so strongly about the nail tech industry, or the independent nail tech industry, being something that we can do to actually survive, or move towards thriving on our income. So right now we're not really surviving. There are many nail techs here that are actually looking at other employed work and leaving the industry altogether. But as someone that has I don't have anyone else living with me, I'm paying for the entire of my business lease and my residential by myself on a single income. I feel really strongly that we should be able to be financially independent and be able to pay for that. Like, sure, we're not paying for like a 4-bedroom home by ourselves, but we should be able to afford to stand on our own 2 feet, especially providing a luxury service such as, a one-on-one environment, with the amount of time and prep and quality of product that we use. So, yes. Now that I've had a ramble on that, once I have created the calculator, I will pop a little link in the description of this video if this is something that you think you will benefit from. It will probably be a little bit of a work in progress, especially if you're based not in New Zealand. I've tried to factor in other regional aspects, but definitely feedback is very much I'm very much open to feedback as well. Like, I want it to be helpful for everyone, so I will tweak as I need to make it work for everyone everywhere. We deserve more for the hard work that we put in, and nails like this are not for everyone. The industry in New Zealand has gotten to the point where the non-standard salons or the walk-in salons, they're charging more than what someone in a solo space like me is charging, because it's just so out of touch. There's no data to price the independent nail techs. We haven't been looking at the data until now. So yeah, very exciting time. It's tricky, going through this experience of realizing what we're actually allowing ourselves to accept. I kind of liken it to a bit of a realizing you're in a toxic relationship, but then realizing you're in a toxic relationship with yourself, which isn't really the easiest pill to swallow. I wonder what I was doing there. I'm going to have to listen to the audio. Maybe she had a little bit of a graze or something. Sometimes she nibbles at her cuticles, so maybe it was stinging a little bit. Anywho. You can see I'm finished filing the set now. I have been using in the past the Lexy files, the 180, 240 files. I love these files, and I still do use them to finish file medium to long nails. But for my short nail gals, I've actually started using my sanding band to finish file. So you'll see probably in the next video I upload how I use my sanding band to finish file, which I thought I would really struggle with. And then as soon as I started doing it, because my friend recommended to me that I should give it a go, holy moly, it's so nice. So I really try to shift my I don't know what the right word is, like standpoint of, I know everything and this is the best way. I used to be very, very like that, which is ironic because I'm not really that much of like a well-seasoned nail tech, but people do things for a reason, and so if it's something different to what I do, it might be better than what I do, and because I haven't tried it yet, I just don't know what could be. So I've really started trying to keep more of an open mind when I see new kind of techniques and new kind of processes for things. Now that I finish filed, I'm going in with Power Bond, which is a hard gel base coat, because I'm going to be using hard gel products on top. If I was using soft gel products on top, I would use the soft gel base coat from Light Elegance. This just really helps create a nice smooth layer to apply the colour on, especially when I'm using ButterCreams. It's such a thin formula, it really does show every little imperfection. But I also really like applying the ButterCreams on that tacky inhibition layer. So this is just a way that I've really found it speeds up my application, because I'm not trying to kind of disguise any kind of bumps or anything that's left in the finished filed layer, and also kind of have the application that I like to have when I didn't use when I didn't do the finished filing step and I was just trying to apply as perfect as I could without finished filing. So we're going in with ButterCream now. This color is called Just a Mirage, and it's such a beautiful periwinkle, lavendery, cornflower blue amalgamation. It's one of these colors that I just am so in love with, and people don't often choose, so naturally I force it upon my sister, and she has decided today that she wants to try 3D kind of raindrop water droplet nails, which I'm all about 3D at the moment. So when she said that she wanted to try this, I was all for it. So we need to start by applying our color, and I'm applying in a couple of thin coats. We want to build up the opacity, but we also don't want to apply it too thickly, because we need to ensure that the product is curing in each layer. And because I have two lamps, I can be working on one hand while the other one's in the lamp, and if I'm a little bit speedy, the second hand can go in the lamp while the first one's still curing, and if I'm not too speedy, then no worries. So you can see here I'm just applying a nice thin even layer of this ButterCream, trying to keep everything nice and tidy. And then this next coat is more to do with opacity than doing that really crisp kind of exterior of the nail. What do I mean by that? Like that, where the color goes to, the edge of the color, like that's all being cut in on the first application, the first layer. So the second layer is really more to do with opacity and perfecting rather than defining, I guess is the right way to put it. And you can see this color builds up really nicely. Sometimes having colors that are a little bit more thinner and transparent do offer us opportunities for art, especially these days. This kind of like see-through kind of depth type of nail art is so popular. So being able to apply super thin and having that transparency, and then being able to build it up still in two coats, makes it a very versatile product. So yeah, just one of the reasons why I love the ButterCreams. And now we're going to go in and just really quickly wipe. I do have a bit of cleanser on the lint-free wipe, and I'm removing a little bit of the excess inhibition layer, because I'm going in with a matte top coat, and I find personally, while I still need a little bit of inhibition layer to make sure that the top coat has something to grip onto, if there's too much inhibition layer, you do get quite a lot of streaking in the matte top coat. So by just doing a really quick, it's not thorough at all, it's just taking some of the excess off, quick wipe with the cleanser before you go in with your matte top coat, that really makes a huge difference. If you are too thorough, you're probably going to remove a bit too much of the inhibition layer, and that could cause a little bit of chipping as the client wears the product, because that top coat didn't have anything to kind of grip onto in terms of texture. And this is actually the old formula for the Light Elegance flat matte, because I've still got some in my bottle. It feels very wasteful to upgrade to the new formula, but since this product they have reformulated, so this is more of like a satin matte, and then the new one is a lot more of like a velvet matte, but this is still going to give us the look that we want, because we want that texture variation between the shiny kind of raindrops and a bit more of a matte frosted background. So now I'm going in with Extreme Lexy line from Light Elegance, and I'm picking it up. I'm pretty sure that's my Swirly Brush, and I'm picking up quite a lot on the brush and then just using the product on the end to drop it down onto the nail. I don't want to spend too long mucking around because this hard gel does self-level, so I want to maintain as much height as I can on the drops, but you do kind of want a little bit of a self-leveling product for this technique, because you want the droplet to kind of really smooth out. If I was using something like Builder, it would probably be a little bit too viscous, and you'd either have to wait a long time for it to self-level and kind of tutu with it a lot, which means you could add air bubbles into the gel, or it would kind of leave some brush strokes and things, which, depending on the design you want to do, amazing. But for this particular design, we want it nice and smooth, nice and clear, and yeah, really kind of giving that sense of like water on the nail. So this was a really fun design. I think I added maybe a few too many droplets, like since I've done this 1 or 2 times more, and I would definitely probably do a few less and have a reference picture up, just so that I had the placement and kind of size variation very like true, kind of hyper realistic, especially for this particular design, but still came out really fun anyway. Yeah, so I feel like I've been talking non-stop, and now I need a little bit of a break so we can just watch a little bit of this product application, and I'll jump back in soon, I'm sure. So another way to make these water droplets kind of look like water droplets, I am holding the nail a little bit more down than flat with the application, and I am trying to encourage the bottom of the droplet to be more full rather than doing like a nice dome that's very spherical. You kind of want it to look like it's hit a vertical surface and then run down or drop down with gravity just a little bit, like the same way as if water hits a window or maybe the glass in your shower, and you can see the droplet isn't completely spherical. It has more water at the bottom of the droplet than at the top. So trying to achieve this with holding the nail, kind of pointing it more down rather than flat, but you'll see obviously I do move things around as I'm trying to see around the nail. But yeah, this I think is a really fun design. It's funny, we do so many trendy things these days, and the trends kind of come through so quickly that you never really have enough time to perfect it. You'll do something once or twice and learn so much from doing it, but you never really get that satisfaction of completing something in the most perfect way that makes you the most happy about, you know, what you've achieved and that sort of thing, which is just so ironic because we're so skilled as nail techs, and being able to do all of these different art designs is like such a skill, you know, watching something and being able to break it down. But it's such a shame that we don't get that kind of satisfaction out of like perfecting our craft, because by the time we've had a chance to do it once or twice, it's probably not going to be a trend again, at least for another couple of years. which, yeah, it's just the irony. So going in now and just cleansing. I don't need to actually top coat extreme. It cures quite shiny once it's cleansed, so I'm just going in and really cleaning off the nail well, just to make sure I'm hitting all of the sides of those droplets. When we're cleaning off a flat surface, it's pretty easy, but you know, cleaning off a surface that has shape to it, we need to make sure we're getting the sides as well. And then I should have filed before I cleansed, but for that nail I filed after, so I just wiped off the free edge again before going in with the hot towel. This is most of my clients' favorite part of the service, so if you guys don't provide a hot towel at the end of your services, definitely look into it. It's a little bit of cost up front, but then ongoing cost is very, very minimal, and it just really is such a luxurious feeling. That heat on the hand really helps relax all of the muscles, and because it's damp and warm, it really actually helps wick the hydration when you go in with your lotion and with your cuticle oil. So definitely recommend. I actually pop a little bit of peppermint essential oil on my hot towels before they go in the hot towel warmer, so there's like a little bit of essential oil like smell experience as well as the heat and that sensation too. So yeah, definitely something to look into if you want to provide your clients with a little bit more luxury, especially with the girls I've been taking through the workshop. A hot towel is such a good way to add something to the service alongside a price increase, because it doesn't actually cost that much to do, but the perception is so elevated for the client. I have clients that joke about coming back for a hot towel, just for a hot towel in between. So yeah, here's the final look. I think it turned out super fun. I'd probably be tempted to do maybe a shimmery layer in between the color and the actual droplets, just to give it a slightly more dimension, but this color in particular did have a little bit of a shift between the matte and the shiny, so I think we still had some fun. Yeah,